Are you alone? Really, think about it, because maybe the loneliness you feel isn't just the absence of people around you, but the absence of someone who truly sees you for who you are. How many times have you been surrounded by friends and yet felt a strange emptiness, as if no one there knew your true essence? Well, this emptiness may have a much deeper explanation than you imagine. Carl Jung discovered that our relationships are full of masks, shadows and projections that prevent us from experiencing authentic friendships. This means that most of the time, we're not relating to real people, but to roles they play, and roles we ourselves insist on playing. The question is, if everyone is disguised, who really sees you? And since we're diving into this disturbing topic together, take advantage now. Like this video, comment on your experience, maybe even share that friendship that left you with more questions than answers, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring mysteries of the mind and life that are rarely discussed anywhere else. Because what comes next may change the way you look at all your relationships. Many people don't even realize it. But we all wake up and put on a kind of invisible uniform before leaving the house. It's like a costume put together for the stage of life, the right outfit for work, the rehearsed smile for family, the joke on the tip of our tongue for friends. This mask isn't made of fabric, but of expectations, social norms, and a silent fear of not being accepted. The truth is, most people spend so much time with this persona that they no longer know where it ends, and their true face begins. Jung discovered that this constant representation distances us from authenticity, creating relationships based on illusion. Imagine the colleague who's always in a good mood at the office, laughing at everything, offering endless help. At first glance, this seems like a perfect example of genuine friendship and helpfulness, but behind the facade, there may be deep fatigue, pent-up irritation, envy, or simply exhaustion from acting all the time. The problem is, we don't see it, not in them, not in ourselves. We create polished versions of who we are to fit into social boxes. And this mask becomes so natural that we forget we're acting. This is the most delicate point. Relationships based on masks become superficial transactions, not real encounters between souls. It's like negotiating invisible contracts where each person plays their role, feigning intimacy without ever shedding their protective layers. When Jung warned of the danger of this inflammation of the persona, he showed how friendship can transform into a silent theater, where the audience and the actors are the same. And therein lies the disturbing question: if everyone is always acting, hiding behind social personas, who can truly see our true consciousness behind so many layers? Within each person lies a hidden cellar, full of things no one likes to admit they possess. It's there that we store unexpressed anger, disguised selfishness, envy we swear we don't feel, all the aspects our consciousness prefers to keep hidden from the spotlight. This invisible part of our psyche is like a heavy suitcase we carry everywhere, even pretending it's empty. The irony is, the more we insist on denying these dark aspects, the more they control us from behind the scenes, sabotaging our search for authentic friendship. Think of that friend who always seems selfless, willing to help everyone without complaining or asking for anything in return. Often, behind this excessive kindness lies pent-up resentment, a feeling of always giving and never receiving the recognition they deserve. Or that Zen colleague who speaks softly and avoids conflict at all costs, but who explodes disproportionately in moments of stress. The shadow isn't just the evil within us. It also harbors untapped potential, stifled courage, repressed creativity, even the self-love we've learned to call destructive selfishness. The great trap is that, without acknowledging this shadow, we end up projecting onto others what we don't accept within ourselves. We criticize in our friends exactly what we deny in ourselves, as if they were an uncomfortable mirror reflecting our own rejected persona. This is why Jung said that true intimacy requires integration, accepting that we are made of light and darkness, of undeniable virtues and flaws. But this step is rare in our society, because it implies looking within with a brutal honesty that few have the courage to sustain. And then the inevitable question arises, if we hide so much from ourselves, living in this illusion of perfection, how can we hope to see who is truly by our side? Sometimes we believe our choices are unique, the result of our individual freedom and awakened consciousness. But if you look closely, you'll see that we follow patterns much older than we imagine. As if we were acting out a script written before we were even born. Jung called these archetypes invisible forces that push us into predefined roles: the counselor, the rebel, the caregiver, the class joker. Just look at any group of friends, and the same characters almost always emerge, even when people change completely. It's an illusion to think we're completely free in our relationships. Have you ever noticed how certain dynamics are repeated from generation to generation? Like an invisible psychological inheritance, the son who assumes the role of family protector, the sister who becomes the conciliatory link in conflicts, the friend who always makes the group laugh in tense moments. It's no coincidence. It's a collective psychological inheritance working behind the scenes of our social persona. Like in a role-playing game, each persona unwittingly wears an archetype because it provides a sense of security and belonging. Fitting into a familiar role is more comfortable than sustaining the complexity of one's own unique identity. What's most intriguing is that these patterns become even stronger in times of crisis or change. When life gets tough, many abandon their individuality and cling to the ancestral figures of the hero, the victim, or the savior, as if they were protective masks. It's at this point that friendships reveal whether they were deep or merely sustained by collective archetypes that give us the illusion of intimacy. The danger lies in confusing real affinity with the familiarity of these automatic roles. After all, if I only see the advisor or the rebel in the other, do I truly know the person? Or just the collective mask they unconsciously wear, preventing any authentic encounter between two free consciousnesses? When we look at someone, we think we're seeing them as they truly are, without filters or distortions. But most of the time, what we see is a distorted reflection of ourselves, an illusion created by our own minds. It's like watching a movie projected on a dirty screen. We believe the image is there, crystal clear and real. But in reality, it's the screen's dirt that contaminates everything we see. This is how psychological projection works. What we can't accept in our own shadow, we project onto others, and we begin to react to this reflection as if it were pure reality. Who hasn't criticized someone for being selfish? When deep down, they're also afraid to acknowledge their own legitimate desire to be cared for and valued, or admired a creative person almost obsessively, while leaving their own imagination forgotten in a corner, stifled by the persona of the responsible. Projection both condemns and idealizes. It creates villains and idols that don't really exist, merely acting out the aspects we don't dare acknowledge in our consciousness. This explains why so many friendships go from blind idolatry to bitter disappointment. It wasn't the other person who changed drastically. It was we who woke from the spell of projection and saw reality for the first time. The most difficult challenge is realizing when our excessive irritation or inordinate admiration reveal more about ourselves than about the other person. Jung called this a golden opportunity for growth, withdrawing projection and taking full responsibility for what we feel, without blaming anyone. It's hard to swallow because it means abandoning the comfortable fantasy that the problem is always outside. But it's also tremendously liberating because it opens space to see the other person as they truly are, unfiltered by our own unintegrated shadow. And then arises the question few have the courage to ask: if our relationships are mirrors of our psyche, have we ever been able to see someone beyond the distorted reflection of ourselves, finally breaking free from this illusion? There's a loneliness that doesn't come from a lack of physical companionship, but from an excessive lucidity about human nature. When we begin to see the masks, the shadows, the automatic archetypes, and the projections that dominate relationships, something within us changes forever. It's as if a heavy curtain falls all at once, revealing that many of the friendships that seemed solid were merely unconscious psychological games, representations of a collective illusion. This discovery can be deeply painful because it brings the disturbing sensation of being surrounded by people and, at the same time, not truly seen or understood by any of them, living in eternal existential solitude. But the solitude of awakened consciousness has a peculiarity that few realize. It is not a punishment, but a portal of transformation. It is in this empty, silent space that the real possibility of cultivating more authentic relationships arises, even if they are drastically few. Those who dare to face this void without desperately trying to fill it realize a liberating truth. We don't need dozens of superficial connections based on persona and projections. One or two genuine relationships are enough to completely transform the quality of our existence. And paradoxically, the more someone consciously accepts being alone, the freer they become to choose friendships based on raw truth, not emotional neediness or the need for approval. This solitude also teaches the most valuable lesson of all, that true friendship inevitably begins within ourselves. It sounds like a self-help cliché, but think about it seriously. How can you expect anyone to see who you truly are if you avoid looking at yourself in the mirror of self-awareness, learning to befriend your own mind, accepting your own contradictions without judgment, laughing at your own flaws without shame? All of this paves the way for deeper connections with other human beings. Because ultimately, those who genuinely reconcile with themselves no longer depend on social masks to be accepted or loved. And it is precisely there, in this arid but fertile terrain, that the possibility of friendships that transcend illusion arises. Unlike anything most people experience throughout their lives, there comes a point in life when a person realizes they can no longer live solely on projected characters and reflections. It takes almost heroic courage to strip away social masks and show themselves as they truly are, with exposed vulnerabilities, acknowledged flaws, confessed desires, and accepted contradictions. This gesture may seem dangerously risky, because rejection is always a real possibility, and our persona exists precisely to protect us from this pain. But paradoxically, it is precisely this courageous openness that creates the sacred space for true relationships, finally breaking the illusion of intimacy that sustains most relationships. After all, you can't be truly loved while hiding behind a carefully constructed social role. Being authentic doesn't mean spilling everything without a filter or using brutal honesty as a weapon of destruction. It's about finding a conscious and responsible way to express one's truth without attacking or victimizing oneself. It's saying, "I'm not feeling well today," without fear of losing approval. It's admitting real insecurities, while simultaneously accepting when others also reveal their most humanly imperfect selves. Small, seemingly simple gestures, like sharing an embarrassing mistake without shame or acknowledging a deep fear, can strengthen bonds more profoundly than years of superficial coexistence based on archetypes and projections. Authenticity breaks existential loneliness because it allows two consciousnesses to truly meet without intermediaries. This courage to be real also has a surprisingly positive side effect. It naturally attracts those willing to make the same move. People who only want to interact with well-behaved masks automatically move away, while those seeking genuine authenticity draw closer like magnets. It's like turning on a powerful light in a completely dark room. Not everyone will like the brightness. Some will even complain about the glare, but those who stay are truly willing to see and be truly seen, and it is in this rare and fertile terrain that extraordinary friendships emerge, capable of overcoming crises, time, and radical change, because they are not based on social roles or neurotic needs, but on genuine presence between two souls who have dared to shed their illusions. If you've made it this far, you've already realized that many of your friendships may not be as real as they seemed, and this raises a powerful question. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue to accept superficial connections based on masks and projections, or will you have the courage to seek out relationships that are truly worthwhile? Only those who face their own shadow and abandon their social persona can truly see others, finally breaking free from this collective illusion. Now think honestly, how many of your friends really know you, and how many only know your well-behaved mask? This reflection may be uncomfortable, but it's also the first step toward the emotional freedom you so desperately seek. Because the truth is, we don't need many friends. We need authentic connections that withstand time, crises, and the masks society insists on forcing upon us. Conscious solitude is better than the illusion of intimacy. So I want to invite you to take action, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future content about the deepest mysteries of the human psyche. And what's more, share this video with someone you think needs to hear it today. Maybe this very message will be the beginning of a real transformation in that person's relationships, and who knows, even your own. After all, how many people do you know who have the courage to face these truths about friendship and authenticity?